Hey guys, what is going on? So we are currently in the middle of the week and the markets are shaping up. So slight lesson for me on here as well, but I'll go through that towards the end of the video. We will pretty much jump through the following pairs. So starting with the DXY, we can see that obviously we are in this level of this very corrective area. I'll just quickly clear this off. We are essentially just waiting for price. I think this is just where more patience is involved. I think every day I mention this, that this sort of area here is just a level of more patience. This is one big range, and I wouldn't really be looking for trades in here. I wouldn't bet my bucks that this would be the trade as well. I would also be patient to wait to just let this develop. The only time I would look for a trade, really and truly, is if we had something like this. And it was just very clear that we were moving to the upside, and then we'll just wait. And I think that would be very clear, and you would have to take a message from the market at that point. However, I think something that will be more interesting to see would be if this does make its way back up here and it breaks its way all the way back down here before it goes up. That would be interesting for a long position. So all in all, happy to be patient. Obviously we have to understand we do have a massive run ahead of us. If we do come back down here to here, that's a large move in itself. I guess it would pretty much be very similar to this move here. So I wouldn't be surprised if we did see something like this panning out in this area, and then we tap into one of these sort of inflection points. Would be very, very interesting to see. And if we take from the high, we're seeing something similar. This is the value area I'm looking at anyway. Just understand that we can tap into one of these little inflection points, but this is the value area that we have to be ready for. And that's pretty much as simple as it should be. Moving on to the next one, which is the JP225. I think with the JP225, we are in very, very good territory right now. So what we had was we had a break above the 123, push down, corrective 123 back into that section, and then a sell-off. As we sold off here, as we sold off in this area here, we've now broke below this price. This is the sort of continuation zone where you want to be looking for continuations. So I think looking at this area here for a continuation isn't necessarily the worst gameplay. If we do get something like this, where we do kind of just correctively squeeze, get into this bit, come back up here and then sell off, wouldn't be surprised. Phase line entry would be more so my favorable position. However, you could probably try get involved with a tight risk board, and then even so to the low of this, it's still a monster of a position in there, about 8% there. So with scale, don't forget the scaling opportunities. Obviously this is quite a large stop. With a refined position, understand the risks that come with it, you could possibly even come in with a larger sort of take on that. So that really comes down to preference, but looking across the yen related pairs, we're going to see some pairs shaping up. So starting with GBP New Zealand, obviously this one hasn't played out to what we were currently looking for. Obviously looking at the weekly, we do have that weekly sort of close. It's no surprise that we haven't really committed at this point. It's giving some territory for this to potentially shape up for a evening star, but at this point I'm not going to be too convinced with this. I'm going to be patient. Looking at how the monthly ended as well, it was fairly bullish as well, so it's no surprise. I would like to see this sort of give some level of commitment, but let's leave it for now. The daily is looking somewhat okay. We are coming back into this sort of level of a zone. Are we going to tap into this section before we sell off? On the hourly, it does look like it's the level of the hook, so I'm interested to see if we do kind of come off there, but because of how we're approaching it, I'm not going to opt in for a trade personally. I think it just comes with too much risk at this point. I was looking for something quite simple, as just continuation from here to the downside, but it doesn't seem like we got that commitment at this point. So it is what it is. We just have to wait this one out and see how it performs, and then later on we might get an entry. This could be developing into something a little bit larger, which would be no surprise, you know, getting a little bit of a reversal ending structure in here. This could be a little bit premature. We could even zoom out a little bit, and you know, it's not really my typical sort of entry though, and I wouldn't really look at that angle. I think more so we just have to kind of forecast on what could potentially happen and understand that we could be in this area here where we kind of just tap in, come in here, and then we'll come up again. Who knows, there could be variations to this angle, could be a little bit more steep like this, you know, possibilities. There's quite a few possibilities on the board right now, and I think you just want to be more patient. If we do get commitment, break this weekly low, then I'll be looking for continuation below that, and it's as simple as that really for this one. CAD yen. So as we're seeing with the yen pairs, it is kind of looking like it's going to be dropping, but I don't have that solid commitment. I mean, yes, we do have a push down and a correction over here, but the correction is just way too large at this point for me. Some people might opt in for it. I definitely wouldn't. I don't think there's any validity to this at all. So it's not something I'm going to be looking for. I'm saying pretty much as the last pair, I'm going to wait for this to break this low here, and if we get continuation below there, then I'll be in for the go. But until that happens, I'm not going to be looking for anything at all. Like, honestly, this does not look like it's going to be selling anytime soon, even with that sort of 4-hour drop off there. The daily was looking okay, but no commitment. So honestly, I don't think I'm going to wait for it. This was the only time where I thought it could possibly sell off, when we had the evening start on the high, but now that we've pushed above and we're kind of continuing, it could push up a little bit more, take out some liquidity before we sell off. So still stay sharp with it, but just understand that it may not sell off for anytime soon. GBP yen as well, I think has still got a bit of time behind it. I think it needs a little bit of time of development. I'm not really going to be wasting my time analyzing this that much right now. I think I'm going to be patient with this. Still hasn't broken this high, was what I was waiting for. We still have this sort of ray line area that we've been anticipating price to get to. So like I said, even though things look like they're going to be selling off, they may still go quite bullish. So I don't want to just be focusing too much on something that may not commit yet. But when it does go, we're going to be in for a very good run. Aussie Swiss, very valuable area at this point. Alert went off earlier. Still waiting for some confirmation. I think a daily retrace would be something of more preference at this point, just because we do have a daily structure in here. We're filled in the daily wick. We do have this sort of squeezing nature now, where price is really exhausting. Something I really do like about this pair at this moment. I think the nice thing about this is we did have this retrace candle at the top here, which I think is extremely good, but at the same time I do want to be seeing a committing break below, something outside of this, and just kind of go, you know, take some time to develop. We do have a little bit of a liquidity area over here we could tap into. Not really fussed about that. I just want to see some commitment to the downside and then get in for the short. Could we see it today? Possibly, but more likely I'm thinking it's going to be shaping up tomorrow, but it could turn around, it could just drop off. We do have some upcoming news on Thursday, which could be a catalyst for this. Balance of trade doesn't really mean much to me, but I know that it's just going to present some possible volatility in the market. So either the market gets priced in now for the short, or we get it. Right now, all I'm really seeing is price is just squeezing. It's just squeezing like this, and it can continue squeezing for some time. So all I'm really waiting for is a break of trend, continuation, and then to the downside we go. And that's as simple as I'm looking at it. Same with Aussie yen, but Aussie yen as well, because we're seeing across the board, we are seeing some bullish momentum. I don't want to be getting caught out on the wrong side of this one. We do have a nice little sort of 1, 2, 3 leading into this as well. I think this is a very nice structure, and the way it's played out is very nice right now. We do have a few inflection points just above. Once again, not too concerned about that. I think this is completely valid, and I think this is also a very, very strategic play. If you are looking to take this entry, good for you. I think there's a good trade right there where you can take in a tight position. Even that, I'll put in a little bit extra just to be safe. Call it about 17 and bang, you'll be in for that trade. And I think that is a solid position. I think this has a lot of room to play out and really commit. And I think, in terms of a position, I would happily take that position. Personal reasons, I'm not taking it, but obviously that's a decent position. Honestly, I think that's a really nice position in itself. But we'll see how that one plays out. Let's mark that up anyway, and we'll come back to it. Everything else, not really jumping out to me and saying anything, but the Aussie Yen one is looking very nice. New Zealand CAD, very simple, just requires a lot more patience. I'm looking for that simple push down and push back up in a flag. So until that's happened and I'm triggered in with my alert, which should be set. Nope, it's not set, so lucky I checked. Until that's been tapped in, I'm not really going to be bothered. So I just want to see that tap into this, push back up, and then I'll be looking for entries. EU, EG, honestly. Not really much to say. It's just such a nice sort of commitment. In terms of structure, impulse, big correction, push down. I think we're just going to really push into this. No entries to really present itself. Sorry about that. No entries are really presenting itself at this point. Can't really see much. Can't really size anything up. I wouldn't be looking for an entry at all. I would literally be waiting the same as we saw New Zealand CAD, push down, push back up, and a flag, and keep it that simple. And that's literally all I'm going to be looking for in terms of a go-to setup. And UJ, honestly, UJ, I think I really do like UJ as well. It kind of does give me a bit of that Aussie Yen feel to it as well. I mean, we are getting a decent ending structure, we just haven't really committed to it yet. But it's no surprise, because when we do look at the DXY, we do also see that it does have that potential for it to come up higher. And if that's like that, then we might see something quite similar with UJ, and we really get that push above, and then we push back in. So that's one I think I'm going to be waiting for and be a little bit patient with. I think perhaps it's not one that's going to shape up this week unless we get some crazy volatility, bearing in mind we do have some news coming out. Supposedly it already came out, but we have some news coming out on the 13th as well, which I believe is next week Tuesday. That's about it really, to be honest. But let's just wait and see. Honestly, I think it's going to be maybe a late next week trade, but we'll have to wait and see how that shapes up. Structure is king, and moving on. Honestly, EuroCAD, nice. Honestly, I think sometimes I see these trades and I think, very nice. Would have been good to hold on to, but then at the same time, you see something like this, and I remember I took a trade here, and I was in for this trade 25. And I was out market somewhere. I think I took it a little bit, I don't know, I can't remember now at this point, but that massive pullback now off that continuation there, and we're seeing this pullback up. It is what it is at the end of the day. We have EA, I think EA as well, very similar to EG and New Zealand CAD. We're sitting at the low. Obviously with New Zealand CAD and EG, we were waiting for it to break the low and push back up. Right now we've actually broken this low. There's the possibility we can come up and continue to the upside. With this massive impulsive action, I wouldn't be surprised if this becomes something larger, and then we commit to the downside if it does make that commitment. However, this is the area that I was looking for price. If it was going to retrace and it was going to come all the way back up, this is the area that I would see it doing it, and this is the sort of ranging section I was looking at. So like I said, if this is going to be making its way back up, this is the area, and we'll be starting to make that run to fill this gap. Obviously, we do have so much in context for the short. We have the head and shoulders. It's played out phenomenally. Honestly, this was so anticipated from this area here alone. We were looking at it for this right shoulder. We saw the short. There was so much opportunity. I think at the end of the day, when you do learn these things and you've practiced and you put in the work, you're going to make so many percentages on this. So it's a good thing to learn. GBP USD hasn't really given me the commitment I'm looking for just yet. We are literally sitting on this area here where I was looking for an entry. It's just one that I just don't know how I'm going to shape it up for the position. If the position was going to shape up, it should have done so by now. It's very impulsive on the push up. I'm not looking for a short position right now. Perhaps maybe that little gap is going to get filled and we are going to break above, maybe even come all the way back up here before we go down. I don't know. At the moment it's not looking like my clear opportunity. However, there is a nice little arc here. Not the best position actually, so I wouldn't really opt in for anything on this at all. I'd wait for it to touch your high value areas. Looking at AU, that retrace is insane, honestly, not anticipated. Honestly, I thought this was going to be the impulse, the correction, and the continuation was going to be quite smooth. Just seems like we didn't get the commitment and we're pushing all the way back up. We're going to have to reevaluate around about here, see if when price gets around about here, if we do get an entry to go short, I think we'll be in for a run, honestly. But looking at how corrective this is, it could just be becoming its own sort of, I don't know. I really don't know at this point. It's just getting a bit messy. It's not really my typical sort of structure. And really, when I look at it from a weekly perspective, it does look like we are looking at the long position now. It looks like this is just getting very corrective. But that's what the market does. It wants to catch you out on the wrong side. So just take a message from the market. Wait till we reach this value area. And then I think it's clear. If we get a push down, a flag, we know where to go. Push up, continuation, we know where to go. If we come in structurally, we know what to do as well. It's just take your time, evaluate, wait. May not even be on watch. That's the craziest thing about it. There's so much. So as anticipated with EJ, we have the potential long position. I think the counter long position is actually quite strategic as well. Looking at this now, I think this is enough for it to start going up. As we saw, we had this area where we saw price could bounce off and start making its way back up, and it has cleared its middle section for this 1, 2, 3. This is looking quite nice in my opinion. If we can actually just get up here and we break above and then we push back in, create flag, we're going to be in for a monster of a run on these yen pairs. Honestly, you're going to have so much opportunity. You're going to be wondering, which one do I go with? So preserve your capital. Save some capital for these yen pairs when they shape up. USD ZAR, and I took this trade and I got out too early. It's my own fault, mismanagement. You learn, you live, you learn. And the worst part is I could have re-entered, but so there was the position I took, which was over here, and I did also get the retrace up here. Clear on. It's 15 minute, you can see it. So the 1, 2, 3 in this area here, then I took it here, and I had this trade as well. And then as this cleared 1%, I locked that in break even and took another trade on the break over here. And I believe that one I kind of just had it right there. And yeah, I mean, end of the day, we live, we learn. But yeah, we're reaching these lows now. It's really nice. See how that performs. I don't know if this is going to retrace quite aggressively. I think we're going to get that commitment to the downside because the daily time frame really looks good as well. The weekly looks even better. We've got a nice. Let me just clear this off for you. This is looking really nice. Retrace at that high. Do you see what I mean? The trade is just phenomenal. I really do like this positioning here. Anyway, not bothered because there will be an abundance of opportunity if we do commit, but the odds are we're not going to run all the way down here, so don't be expecting price to come anywhere. Understand that this can become its own sort of ending structure, and then we get something like that. So just understand that that's also possible. And then there was the Germany 30 trade, which hasn't actually played out now, but it was also a missed trade. I probably would have just come out with a few percent, but that's about it. So 4-hour time frame, there was this trade over here where we had price just so much like that. had this expanding in here. I'll just go on the 15 for you, just so you can kind of break it down a little bit more. So we had the 1, 2, 3 leading into this section here, and then we kind of just had that liquidity area just right above, pushed up, and then pushed down, and then entry was taken, and then shortly after just got taken out straight away. Obviously it is what it is, and then if you go back and remove that one and we look at it on the 4 hour, we can see that then we did retrace on it. Then I wasn't really inclined to want to take it when I saw that, and then drilling down on the 15, there wasn't really any entries as well, couldn't see much. And then when I saw 5, I was like, okay, cool, there's possibly this trade, which, understanding it takes costs, there's risk with this trade, because you know we're kind of in this sort of area where price can just, you know, push up aggressively, where I understood that, and I was like, okay, cool, well, if we're pushing back below here, this is where I'm kind of looking to go short. So I would have reduced risk entry this, to be honest, understanding the risks that came with it. That would have been the trade. And then management wise, most probably would have been less aggressive and would have locked in about 2.73 and been taken out for that. So that would have essentially been the trade. Perhaps if I saw myself running around about 5.5%, I would have been more aggressive and just locked in 4, but who knows. And yeah, that was kind of it. I mean, I was hoping for it to have more commitment, but at the same time, you know, I'm not surprised. The reason why I opted not to take it was mainly because looking at the other indices, usually they kind of move together. They just look very, very bullish within them, and I just didn't want to kind of just take a trade here after it wasn't as clean as I was looking for. You know, that would have been a lovely trade if we had that retrace and then we had commitment from there. You know, that would be more so something I was looking for. However, yeah, just didn't get it. And you know, these things happen. So if we look at it quickly like this, we take it from here. That's there. You know, if you had something like that, that would be understandable. You know, I'd see that like, okay, cool. We came into this area of interest, we impulsed away, we created this sort of corrective area here, and we pushed away from here, and that's it, carried on. And that would have been a phenomenal trade, but we just became more corrective in this area, and at this point it's just like I'm not really interested in the trade anymore. So that was basically it, and that was basically, that was one other thing I was looking at was Palladium. I think Palladium is strategically in a very good place. Something that horrible that I made a massive mistake on was position sizing. I don't know how I made this mistake, but usually I don't make this mistake. But so when you're position sizing and you've got massive spreads, so for example, when this is the lesson I was talking about at the beginning of the video, and let's say you're planning to take your trade, you know, over here, okay, when price comes into this area, but let's say it pulled up here, so you're going to take your trade in here, and you sized in, you said, okay, 20 pip stop loss, fine, so we know it's 20 pip stop loss, whatever. But what you have to take into, consideration is the spread. Sometimes you get these crazy spreads on here, and let's say spread is there, so you have your 20 pip stop loss, and then you have additional from your entry price to there, you have an additional 20, so you're not taking 20 pip stop loss, you're taking 40, right? So we scale that into 40 and understand that you're actually taking the position there. How crazy is that? So yeah, believe it or not, instead of taking what I was supposed to take, I took 5 times more, and because of the spread, hit me out. So took me out for quite a big loss, 4% on a trade. Insane, right? So within a second I had to close it. So obviously that's a minor setback for me. It's a little bit of a downside, but you know, I'll recover for sure. I mean, at this point in my trading journey, you know, a 4% loss isn't going to faze me, but fuck me, man, that's some terrible shit to deal with. So that's the reason why I didn't really take any trades today. It was a bit annoying because I was trying to take 0.01% as well. So when I sized it on my calculator and everything at the time, it told me 5 lots, and I was thinking, oh, I don't want to make this mistake. And it's annoying because the previous week I was fearful for doing it, so I didn't take a trade on the Germany 30 and the US 500, and they became missed trades because, and then they played out for about 12%, 30% or something. And then this time went and took the courage, took a loss on the Germany 30 and took a loss on Palladium. But anyway, it is what it is. It's probabilities at the end of the day. Those were better setups last week anyway, regardless. So we just have to deal with it. So main one that we kind of covered was Aussie Yen. I think, position wise, phenomenal. Definitely keep eyes on this. I think there's a strong possibility for the short, but also understand that the risk you're taking the trade in here, it can still go long because we are in that long territory. If we do get commitment to the downside, there could be some good entries. Overall, I think we're looking very, very good for next week. I think it's going to be a slow day today, in my opinion. Not really much for me to look for, so probably just go off and enjoy the rest of my day. But looking at things in hindsight, markets are looking very, very nice. So still stay very, very sharp. I think there's going to be so much opportunity shaping up. We just need to be ready. Structures haven't fully developed yet, so wait for these structures to develop before you even look for any entries. Remember, structure is king. Sometimes they don't play out, like we can see over here. No surprise, we had impulsive approach. We would wait for the push down. We didn't get the push down. We just continued to the upside. Take a message from the market, look to go long. And that's as simple as it is. So guys, thanks for watching, and I will catch you in the next video.